How's it going, everyone? I love doing panels with robots. I feel like they always get better answers than the humans. So, Dan, why don't you speak for this one first? So, who are we looking at here?
This is a Misty 2. This is Athena. She's one of our newest models. I just brought her out to show her to everybody and let her see what's going on.
And so, why don't you tell her, what does she do, and you know, can you show us some interaction with the robot?
Sure. So Misty 2 is doing right now what we call Stochastic Mode. She's just being alive and self-generating commands, showing expressions. If I tickle her under the chin, she gets happy. If I pat her on the head, oh, she comes up for some more. It's just sitting here and being alive, like you or me.
And so she's part of this platform that you're building to allow anyone to build skills and different capabilities into a robot. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So at Misty Robotics, we really believe that in order for robots to really get out and get into everyone's home and office, they must do a lot of different things. And we don't know what those things are. So we're really trying to build a solid developer platform to enable anyone who wants to try to build a new skill or a new app for the robot and then get it out in people's homes.
And I'd imagine if I'm going to build a robot platform, I'd want like a big R2-D2 looking robot. Why did you pick this format?
Yeah, so
because Misty's like kind of small.
She's small, she's cute, she's...
No offense.
Not dangerous, which is also key. We made up a list internally of all the things we might want to have a robot do. And we looked at that list and said, what could we do today, now, with technology? And we realized that for most things, you just need something that moves around, can look at objects, can talk, can hear. And so we put that all together, and you don't need, for most things, huge, bulky arms. That'll come later. For now, this gets you most of the way there.
And so, like, I've seen that Misty can bring you a beer. You put an arm, and she'll, like, scoot around and bring your friends a beer at a party. But I think that's a pretty basic application of robotics. Do you have any, like, actual very interesting things that Misty can do at a party or when she's just scooting around your office? Like, what have people built on this thing?
People have come up with a whole host of ideas. There's a bunch like having a robot greet you at the door and take you to a person you've come to see at an office. We've had discussions with people who want robots to monitor people in their home to make sure they're taking their medications. So the robot can watch you and say, oh, yeah, you took the meds, great, I'll check that box. Robots as diet coaches or learning companions. Robots as I said greeters, but you can also see as inspectors. You could attach a radon detector to the back of your robot, and it can take samples for air quality around your building.
And so I'd like to actually know more about how Misty will keep track of someone when they take their meds. Is it something that might like follow me around and watch me with the camera and make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do?
So this is an idea this is an idea that developers came up with, and so it's really going to come down to how does that developer want to develop that skill. We're providing the platform. 6 different developers could probably do it in 20 different ways.
And has the interest from developers been what you've expected? Are a lot of people clamoring to get on board? And how many of these things are out in the wild right now?
So we shipped a previous version, Misty 1, out to developers. It is in their hands right now. We have a very active developer community. It's on the forums. We have a forum as well. And they're always pushing for new features and new things to do, and they're hard to keep up with sometimes.
When do you think that something like this might be able to be released to the public in an affordable way?
So I said the Misty 1 is already out. Those are out there in the wild. People are using them.
And how much do they cost?
The Misty 2 right now retails for $23.99. And you can order it on our website. We'll be shipping relatively soon. And that's all I can say on that.
Great. Let's talk a little bit more about the personality part. So you think about how to put personality into a robot. How do you put personality into a robot?
Yeah, so we're taking a very different tact at Misty. So we really believe that in order for everyone to have their own robot, it needs to be their own robot, which includes having an own unique personality. And so what we're building is a personality engine. How do you define a personality space such that any robot can have any personality in that space? And so we take that, and the personality influences how the robot reacts to stimuli, how the robot internally processes things, and how the robot generates expressions.
And when I buy a Misty, do I pick the personality type I want? Can I like pick like bratty versus bossy versus very nice Misty?
That is one way you might do it. We've talked about several different ideas. You might pick a personality from a set. My personal preference is you go and you hang out with a bunch of different Misties, and you pick one that you like, and you take it home, like an adoption center.
And I don't want to get too technical, but why don't we get a little technical? Can you tell me a bit about how exactly you put personality into this thing?
Sure. So one of the things we've done that really for personality is we don't do pre-scripted movements. So all the movements Athena is making right now is generated on the fly. And because we do that, we take this internal state, how the robot feels right now, and we modify how the robot expresses itself. We can change the speed of movements, we can change the direction of movements, we can change how much variation she has in the movements. And so all of that comes together to give you a sense of personality.
And we spoke beforehand, and you mentioned that you want Misty to feel different to each of the owners.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell me a little bit more about how you're going to make it really a personalized robot for each person as opposed to kind of a standardized robot that will feel the same no matter who the owner is?
Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot of work. It's not in here right now to do personality adaptation. And so you bring your robot home, and as you interact with it, the robot's personality will adapt to you and your environment and the stimulus and interaction that you have with it. Say you applaud and like the robot every time it does a particular behavior, that's going to get reinforced, and the robot's going to exhibit more of that behavior for you.
And you mentioned, you take somebody's, standard robot home, it's going to feel the same no matter who you have. But if you take someone's golden retriever home, you're going to know that you have a different one. And how are you going to expect to get to that with this?
It'll take some time. We're really trying to just drive that engagement and that endearment. And so you've probably noticed the robot can tilt its head side to side. It's not necessarily functional, but these little sort of social behaviors the robot can do really make people warm up to the robot and feel attached. And so if we can do that and we modify that behavior for you, you get a really strong attachment, and this becomes your robot.
So let's talk, because the best thing when you talk about robots is you get to talk about what could go wrong. And I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. Well, I did a story a couple of years ago about Microsoft. They had this chatbot, it was called Tay. Mm-hmm. And it would adapt its personality based off of the interactions that it had with people. And I wrote this story, broke the news. Microsoft has a new chatbot called Tay, adapts to the internet. And I was feeling pretty good about it. And then I woke up the next morning and everybody was yelling at me on Twitter saying, hey, you might want to change that story. I'm like, what happened? And overnight, Tay turned into a Nazi based off of the way that people interacted with her. So how are you going to make sure that Misty doesn't turn into a Nazi?
Part of it is we learn in your home environment for you. We're not crowdsourcing the learning across all robots for your robot. And so it really comes down to how do you interact with your robot. The second thing is we've talked about how do we want to restrict the personality space? Are there some personalities that robots can't have? For instance, a robot personality that is inclined to disobey your commands and not do what you ask it to isn't a really useful robot to have around your home. So we're probably not going to allow that.
And I've heard a lot of people talk about some issues they've had with the Amazon Echo, that their kids just yell, Alexa, 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 and start demanding things, as opposed to saying, Alexa, please. And that's like one of the issues with robotics. And I kind of think that this thing, which feels more like a living being than a speaker you yell at, might be able to teach people some empathy. I'm curious what you think about that.
That sounds like a great robot skill. You should write it.
You want me to write the code?
I think you should get a Misty, you should write that skill and put it in the marketplace and see if everyone likes it.
Okay. The challenge is on. All right. We're definitely going to take some questions from the Slido app. So I want to, if you guys have questions, feel free to submit them and we're going to ask them. And I'm going to ask this one from Anonymous, which says, your robot is looking around this room, which is an unusual environment. Can we see anything about what it's learning from the experience?
So it's looking around, just gathering information. Unfortunately, I have no way to visualize that to you at this moment. So,
But
no.
what's going in these sensors? Like, is it like, holy shit, I'm speaking in front of a lot of people right now? Is it feeling nervous?
Now, so it's got a bunch of sensors going on. There's a structured light sensor up here that's building a 3D map. We've got a camera, it's doing face detection. The crowd is probably too far away and too dimly lit to be able to see, but it would see you or me. We've got time of flights down here for obstacle. If I let it drive, it would hopefully not drive off the couch. We've got cap touch sensors up here, so it can tell when I'm tickling under the chin and react appropriately.
Now, Dan, I actually think that it already feels living, and the functionality is kind of basic.
Mm-hmm.
When the technology under the hood gets better, let's say take us 5 years from now, what's this going to look like? Like how realistic can this thing get?
I'm so excited for 5 years from now. We're not going for hyper-realism. We're really trying to stay out of the uncanny valley. And so I don't know if it's going to look humanoid. It's probably going to be larger and more dexterous.
Well, like less about the design, but more about the personality. How real can it feel? Like, are we going to get to, a Westworld situation?
I really hope that in 5 years we're at the point where you really do feel like this robot is yours and yours alone. The sort of standard that I'm going for is, how some people, them and their pets, they sort of look alike or they sort of act alike, and you're like, oh, that's totally Alex's dog. I'd like to get to that point where it's like, that's totally Alex's robot.
I want to ask you a question that kind of gets lost in a lot of these talks about robotics, which is why? Why do we need something like this?
Why do we need social interaction and personality?
Why do we need social interaction with robots? Why do robots need personalities? What's the end game here, and what's the purpose?
So a lot of it is just to improve the interactive experience. So humans are social creatures. We do all these little social interactive things, eye gaze, gestures, that robots don't have to do to actually function. But if they do them, people can interact with them more intuitively. It really just makes the process go faster and better. So if you have a robot in your environment and it doesn't follow any social conventions at all, it's a really difficult robot to work with. You add that socialness in, you add that personality and character in, and people can interact with it more fluidly, and it just sort of makes everything better.
And where does that get us as a society when we're a bunch of humans interacting with robots?
It gets us more efficient and hopefully better.
To expand on the better part.
I see robots doing lots of things for us that are right now, traditionally either dirty, dangerous, or dull, that people have better things to do or just simply can't. I can't fit into small spaces, and I can't go into urban search and rescue, say, because the floor might collapse. We can send robots. So robots can do lots of things that we can't do, and robots can help us do the things that we do more efficiently, faster, cheaper.
A couple of people are asking for a demo. Is there anything else you can show us? I know that I don't think Misty's going to speak for this
Misty's
panel,
not going to speak today.
But the sensor interactions are things that you've been able to show.
Yeah, so really this demo right here is just looking around. This is just the sort of movement generation system and some of the interactivity.
We're zoomed in on the robot now, so maybe you can do the head tap thing again.
Yeah, I don't know if they can see the eyes.
They can see the eyes.
There we go.
Yeah.
And so if I tickle it under the chin, it can react to that. It likes that. If I scratch it on the head, there we go.
It's like it almost has feelings.
That's what we're going for.
So someone asked about WALL-E. Is the similarity to WALL-E in the Disney movie? Did that inspire it at all?
We certainly like WALL-E. I've watched a lot of robot movies. They all influence me, either in terms of design aesthetics or behaviors we want or things we want to avoid. It's wonderful what people have already thought about.
How much of robot people's time is spent watching science fiction movies?
It probably depends on the individual. I probably watch anything with a robot that comes out.
Okay, that's a good answer. Let's also talk about The Office. It's interesting. Your vision here is to have this robot be something that you can have in your home or your office.
Mm-hmm.
Home, I kind of understand. It can do some of the use cases we spoke about. Eat your food right, take your pills. Oh, you fell or something like that, and now I'm going to get help. What about the office?
I think there's lots of use cases in the office as well. An office and really any place of business. You have, say, a giant warehouse, and you want to go sample air quality, when we talked about before. That's a use. You have an office, you have to deliver physical things to different people in the office. We've printed and we've done a trailer. There's a trailer hitch back here that you can hitch a trailer onto the back of the robot, and it can take around mail or donuts, whatever you want.
So people want to know how you use Misty in your own life. They want to know, I'm talking about from the questions we have here. So do you have one at home? You have a kid at home?
I do have a kid.
Does your kid play with it?
I've actually got some adorable videos. My kid's only 1, so he doesn't really do too much with it. But he likes to play with the robot. I've got one on my desk at work, mostly for development. We've had robots perform greeting duties, meet someone at the door, recognize them, take them to the person they have to come here to see.
A lot of people are raising their kids on iPads and YouTube right now, and I think maybe something like this could be a better option and can teach, more interaction and less distraction.
Certainly another brilliant idea for a skill.
Okay, let's see if we have anything else. Here, this is an interesting one. Does the data stay on the robot or go back to the cloud? And I'm going to just add to that. Well, you got these things rolling around people's houses with a camera. So how do you feel secure about that?
So we take security very seriously at Misty Robotics. So we try to do as much on board as possible. We enable the developer to, if they want to, they can do third-party API calls. So if you had a skill and you wanted to send data up for processing and get the data back, you can do that. But in terms of what we actually do on the robot right now, it's all on board. Okay, cool. Feel good about that. So this isn't gonna leak anywhere, and not like they're recording this thing or anything like that. All right, great. Let's do a lightning round, and then we can give the stage to somebody else. Sounds good.
All right. So Uber or Lyft?
Here in Portugal, Uber.
Okay. Lisbon or Dublin?
I've never been to Dublin, so I'm going to go with Lisbon.
All right, good. Echo or Google Home?
Ooh, I actually don't have either one.
Neither?
Yeah.
You should try it out. Okay, Amazon Jeff Bezos or Space Jeff Bezos?
Space Jeff Bezos, clearly.
The future of robotics is?
Awesome.
The future of AI is?
Pretty cool.
Let's see. Robots will take jobs or add jobs?
Both.
The future is bright, yes or no?
Of course.
Okay. All right, everybody. Dan Grollman, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Misty.